This is a very significant point symbolically within the land of Israel. Water is Torah. That's how Hashem keeps the world going and how he keeps, our land sustained, is not just through the physical mechanics that we see with our eyes, but that corresponds to a spiritual reality.
Uh-huh.
And that, on some level, this is like the source of the spiritual flow.
Oh, there we are. Wow. I always think of water and waterfalls very psychedelic.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a psychedelic experience?
I've had, not at a waterfall, but
I had my first psychedelic experience at a waterfall. I was hiking with a friend of mine, and I, took a hallucinogenic, and we ended up like halfway through the day, got to a waterfall, and I just sat and stared into the water. It must have been 4 hours. And I understood universal oneness.
right.
This is before I went to Aish. And it was just the most powerful concept. And for some reason it hit me and was so obvious, universal oneness, just by staring at the waterfall with the help of the psychedelics.
The only difference, as far as I can tell, is that one is being generated, one experience being generated by the structured work of the mind to put together all the different variables, understand each detail, and really develop a clear intellectual picture of what is in front of me.
Right.
And then because it happens through the normative process of analytical thinking, etc., so it becomes integrated as part of you. And the emotions that it generates are much more genuine.
Right.
What's happening with those types of things is you're just bypassing the work part, the toil part of the process, and only having the amplified pleasure part.
Right.
So that's why you're left
But you're
with...
still having the incredible intellectual concept is hitting you, and it's still very powerful.
But it's an override of your actual involvement in the process. We're still body and soul.
Right.
And even if it's done on an override, which is not, so to speak, so natural in terms of the design of how a human being works, but you still you're having a connection to a spiritual experience.
Right.
It's just not the method by which those types of experiences in the design of a person were meant to be achieved.
So if I got a taste of that, you see that as it's part of a process. It's not the answer.
Yes.
It's a trigger.
It's a trigger, part of the process. And I would even suggest, if you take a look, what does oneness have to do with a waterfall?
Yeah, I don't know what I was saying.
But
I can't
to
go
me,
back
it
into that.
represents the source.
Right.
When you see the force of the power and this feeds and fuel, and it represents that in a way which is flowing outward. This one happens to start from a hidden cave underneath the ground.
And what's the metaphor for the spring having the force to bring the life up to the surface?
That's the will of that's representative of the will of the Creator to bring about life from within himself, so to speak, from a hidden place, which has not yet become a separate, independent existence, outward into an external dimension.
I think that's one thing that is very appealing to me about Judaism and the spirituality we're talking about, that you can look at everything around you and probably find a piece of that oneness and creation in everything.
Right. If you know what each symbol is, how to... That's part of what the Kabbalah is for, is to teach us what each element in the picture is, so that by understanding how what each thing is, you can start to put together and have a much deeper understanding.
And then you're walking around the world every day in awe of everything.
Right.
What a great way to be.
Yeah.
That's one of the goals.
Yeah.
I would
And then
imagine.
to take that awe and to actually bring it, not just on an, to remain on an intellectual level,
right,
but to take that state of being and actually infuse it into our dealings with others and sharing it and bringing
that.
even, you know, taking it further. That's really,
That's the point.
that's the point. That's when it comes full circle. So the first stage is where the waterfall here emerges from a hidden place. The second stage is the Kinneret, the Sea of Galilee, which we just saw earlier. That's where this water collects and is first grasped on an intellectual level. And then from there, the third body of water, so to speak, is the Mediterranean Sea.
So it's here.
This is where it emerges from the hidden infinity of
Right.
God outward into the world. The Kinneret is where we as the Jewish people collect it
Right.
and grasp we experience the connection to God. We become connected to spirituality. We have these deep insights, but we realize that it has to be taken further. In what we do and outward to the world, that's the final stage.
Right.
And this is really a very deep Kabbalistic place, because here's the source of where it all begins. This
Yeah.
is the Jewish people's process begins here.